This election, we saw multiple state ballot measures focusing on abortion, as well as an underreported life issue, medically assisted suicide. The state of West Virginia is the first in the nation to pass an amendment prohibiting the participation in medically assisted suicide, euthanasia, or the so-called mercy killing of a person. The measure passed by just 1%, 50 to 49. This is the first time a state has proactively voted on banning assisted suicide, which is unfortunately being legalized in many countries and is already legal in several states here in the U.S. Voters in 10 states faced abortion measures that sought to enshrine abortion as a so-called right in state constitutions. While many of them passed, there were several victories for the pro-life movement, the first victory since Roe v. Wade was overturned. 3 states, Colorado, Maryland, and New York, already have very liberal laws where abortion is legal in all 9 months of pregnancy. And not surprisingly, the abortion measure passed in all of these states. In Colorado and New York with 61% of the votes, Maryland with 74% of the votes. Colorado will also require Medicaid to cover abortion. New York's ballot measure was a little different, not only adding abortion as a right to the state constitution, but also adding language protecting so-called gender identity. That language has raised concerns about parental rights over minors who may be seeking gender transition surgery or medication. In Arizona, 61% of voters approved extending the abortion window from 15 weeks up to 24 weeks. Montana followed suit with enshrining their current 24-week abortion law into the state constitution, with more than 57% of the voters approving. Pro-abortionists argue viability, or when a baby can survive outside the womb, is 24 weeks.
They're claiming viability is at 24 weeks. Medical science has advanced so much that now viability in many places is actually as early as 22 weeks. So these amendments actually keep us in medicine from a decade or two ago.
Missouri was a big loss for the unborn, but it was a close race for Amendment 3. Abortion is illegal with limited exceptions in that state, but now abortion will be expanded up until viability, that 24-week mark, with 51% of the voters favoring the abortion amendment.
I think it's encouraging that some of these states were close when it comes to the abortion ballot, and it shows that there are millions of Americans that truly value life and they want to protect life. Where we've seen losses, it's because there's misinformation.
3 states are celebrating pro-life wins. In South Dakota, the law there that protects babies during all 9 months of pregnancy will stay in place. 59% of the voters voted against Amendment G, which would have constitutionalized a so-called right to abortion in the first trimester, with loose wording allowing for abortion to the second and third trimesters. But the measure failed, and protections for the unborn remain. Nebraska is being considered a win for pro-lifers. The state is unique in that it had a dueling abortion ballot measures. 434 would keep the 12-week abortion ban in place, whereas Measure 439 would extend the window of allowing abortion until 24 weeks. But that extension to 24 weeks failed, so abortion will still be allowed up to 12 weeks of pregnancy, but is considered the lesser of 2 evils.
You could kind of make the case, and I imagine that this is what we might see in future cycles, that having that competing ballot measure caused a certain percentage of the electorate to say, well, I would have voted for the right to abortion measure if it was here by itself, but I'd rather vote for this one. So I'm going to kind of split my vote a little bit. So it's really interesting to see how that one played out.
And in Florida, a heartbeat law that went into effect earlier this year will remain the law of the land because an abortion measure failed to get the necessary 60% of the vote. But it was close. Some 57% of voters there wanted to constitutionalize abortion.
I want to thank Governor DeSantis. This is clearly a part of his leadership. This is a result of him having a strong pro-life stance.
Despite more voters in favor of the abortion measure, it still failed because of that 60% threshold law.
For the first time this year, we now have 3 victories in 3 different states.
In Nevada, there is still time for the pro-life movement to make a dent. Their abortion measure needs to pass 2 different election cycles, this year and then again in 2026. The abortion measures did pass this first round, with 63% of the voters in favor of creating a constitutional right to abortion until fetal viability.